What's up, you guys? My name is Andrea. I am your host of From Mrs. to Ms. Today, I am being joined by Dr. Morgan. Dr. Morgan Anderson is a licensed clinical psychologist, relationship coach, and attachment theory expert who's here to help you navigate love, heartbreak, and everything in between. As the host of the popular podcast, Let's Get Vulnerable, and author of the transformative book, Love Magnet, she's your go-to guide for building secure, fulfilling relationships. Thinking of her as your breakup BFF. I love that. The friend who will tell it like it is while helping you heal, grow, and become the best version of yourself. When she's not empowering others with her insights, you'll find her embracing her role as an athletic wear connoisseur. I'm with you there. Because who says great advice and great style can't go hand in hand? With warmth, wit, and deep expertise, Dr. Morgan brings clarity to the chaos of modern relationships, making her an essential voice for anyone ready to attract and keep the love they deserve. Oh my gosh, welcome to From Mrs. to Ms.
Thank you for having me. So excited.
Absolutely, I love it. You've got some great stuff going on. I love the breakup BFF. We all need one of those, don't we?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Absolutely. All right, so let's start from the beginning. So, how did you end up working within relationships and sex, and especially attachment theories? What led you to this place?
So, like many people who are drawn to clinical psychology, I experienced childhood trauma really early on. I lost my mom at age 6. And then I watched my dad go through really unhealthy relationships after that. Um, and then, of course, dealing with fear of abandonment and all of the chaos that happened from my early childhood, I just found myself attracting really unhealthy romantic relationships
Oh,
all throughout my 20s. And then I was in graduate school getting my doctorate in clinical psychology as my second year. And I found myself in a relationship with a narcissist, like full blown really, really toxic relationship.
and did you recognize that at the time? Because I feel like we haven't really noticed that and recognized that until these last few years. It seems like, anyway.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think, well, it was the classic thing that you go through with a narcissist, right? The first 6 months, it was love bombing and all the gifts and flying me everywhere. And I thought I had met Prince Charming. But then a year and a half in, at the very end of the relationship, I mean, I was completely isolated from friends and family, low self-worth. I felt like I was a shell of myself walking around. And just, I did know what narcissism was because I was studying clinical psychology.
Yeah,
So I really was kind of able to put it together.
yeah.
Um, and it was from that like rock bottom period of my life that I went, wow, I need to figure out how to have a healthy relationship. I need to research this. And then that's when I threw myself into researching attachment theory and attachment styles at that
Wow. And was
time.
there something like that triggered to you about the narcissist? Like, was it, I know you said there was kind of love bombing for the first 6 months and all of these whirlwind things that you're doing. Was there like an abrupt, like, oh, like, what is that? Or did it just gradually go into that, do you think?
So it's so interesting you say that. Yeah. So 6 months in, I remember the first thing he told me that was off and weird. It seems small, but this was the first of many things. He told me, I hate when you wear your hair in a ponytail. It makes you look so ugly. And he had never said anything like that to me in my life, like in our six
Oh my,
months. But that was just like a little preview of
yeah.
all of the derogatory putting me down stuff that continued to happen. But it got gradually worse and worse. At the very end, it was essentially I was afraid for my life, and
Oh,
I was filing a police report
yeah.
because of a near death experience that I had. So, I mean, it did get really, really bad towards the end. And unfortunately, in toxic relationships, sometimes that's what it took for me to be
Yes.
able to leave. It had to
Mm-hmm.
get so bad that I went, I don't think I'm going to be alive if I stay in this relationship. But then, yeah, it was from that really put me on this path to understanding healthy relationships. and how
Yeah.
how to have them because I didn't know how. I had to completely rewire my brain.
Yeah. But how interesting to be able to go through that and then learn about it and then be able to teach others because you've not only like learned it, but you experienced it yourself. So firsthand, you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's dive into attachment styles a little bit. So, I'll be honest, I've spoken with a couple other attachment theories, and there's always the basic ones, and then there's like seems like there's these extra little ones on the side. So to you, what are the attachment style theories, and how do they significantly impact our relationships?
Yes, I love talking about this. I think when you understand your attachment style, it's the key to the
Huge.
dating puzzle. I think it's huge, right? So, we have four styles. We have anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, disorganized, which some people call fearful avoidant,
Okay.
but clinically it's disorganized, and then secure attachment style, where we all want to be. Those are
Yeah.
the four.
Yeah. I find the word disorganized funny because it's like it is what it is. We're just all over the place, right? We don't know which one we
Yeah.
really fall into. We know where we want to get, but we're not quite there. I just find it funny that they called it that. But
Yeah.
why do you think they like so significantly impact our relationships? I mean, you have to kind of know it to know what you're in and where you're headed, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, your attachment style, I mean, this is the foundational, I would say, model that your brain is using to attract and maintain relationships. You want to think of it as like this is the way that your brain creates and forms relationships. So once you understand it, then you have the power to change it, right? We
Right.
have to start with understanding.
Yeah. I think that's huge. And is there certain ones that so you can have like an avoidant and an anxious. You can be both. So that's kind of where the disorganized is, right? You're anxious and avoidant. So I think that's me. I'm pretty sure that's me. I did like a little quiz. I did the quiz on your site,
Oh,
actually.
amazing. Yes.
Yeah. And I was like 44% anxious, 44% avoidant, and then 12% secure, which was way lower than I thought. Because I've been really working on myself and I thought I've come this long way. I've got to be like really close on a secure. So I was a little bummed, but still not surprised because I can feel it inside me, a little bit because I'm dating now. So a little bit like I'm like, oh, okay, he hasn't called me. Interesting. But then I'm like I don't even want I'm
Yeah.
disorganized. I'm disorganized.
And I think the important thing is like, okay, we have to just have so much compassion, right? Just like you're saying, it's like, okay, I can have this gentle observer mindset of I'm gonna
Yeah.
be aware, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have compassion, and I'm not gonna judge myself. But yeah, disorganized attachment style, that's what I had for over a decade.
Oh,
That's, when I regress, that is sort of my insecure style is
mhm.
disorganized attachment. And it
Yeah.
is probably the most painful style. Right. I'm sorry
Yeah.
to tell you, but you probably knew that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it makes it really hard to regulate your emotions, and it can make just relationships feel really chaotic because not
Yeah.
only do you have fear of abandonment, you also have fear of intimacy. So it's that
Yeah.
push pull of please don't leave me, but come close to me, but wait, I want space.
Yep.
And it's a really challenging relationship
Yeah.
dynamic.
It is. And I felt that many times where I'm like, okay, like go away. But then when they do, I'm like, oh, but what if I want them back? But what if I
Yeah,
don't
come
want them by
back.
myself? Yeah, it's that really weird space. So what are the key signs that someone's operating in an insecure attachment style? And how can they start moving towards a secure one? We all want to get to this goal line of secure. So what kinds of things can we start doing? And what did you do? Like you were a decade of being disorganized.
Yeah.
How did you even begin to start moving towards secure?
Well, if you're listening to this podcast, that's a great start, right? Like
That's a good start. Welcome.
right? Clearly you're
Yeah.
someone who wants to work on themselves. So I think that's always step one, isn't it? Is awareness. We
Yeah.
have to gain the awareness. I would say go take the quiz that Andrea took. I would give you the
Yeah.
quiz and I would want you to know like where are you currently?
Yeah.
That's really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Um, and then this is the part where I think I'm different from probably a lot of people online is I still really believe in we do need to revisit our past. We actually have to go to the root of the relational trauma. So
Yeah.
I have my clients do something called a relationship inventory.
Wow.
And we're going deep into all your significant relationships and pulling out the relational trauma and the unhealthy patterns that you learned. So we have to go to the root of the trauma.
Yeah. And then kind of work from there. And it's not a sprint, right? It's like a marathon. You got to work through it day by day. I know I'm always like, ooh, by tomorrow I want to be secure. And look, I was 12%.
Yeah, it takes time and once we get to the root of the trauma, then it's about really intentionally releasing trauma.
Okay.
And this is what I help people do with, somatic practices. And I have something called Is This Serving You? And it's a deep meditation practice that really helps people release past trauma. So I think that's kind of where I'm different from traditional psychotherapy as
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
as I really believe that we can intentionally release our trauma and let it go so
Oh,
that we're not carrying it around.
oh, I love that. I think that's a great idea. So I would think that you did say disorganized is kind of the worst place to be, but I would think out of those two, anxious would even be the biggest one out of anxious or avoidant because you just constantly feel like it's, something's going on and something's happening, right? So, like, how can someone who struggles with anxious attachment navigate the uncertainty of modern dating? Because I know, like, ghosting, casual relationships, the friends with benefits situationship, those have got to be major triggers on an anxious attachment
Yeah.
style,
With
right?
with anxious attachment, you like what's going on in the brain is you're constantly hypervigilant and you have an overactive amygdala. The fear part of your brain is overactive, so you're constantly trying to predict and control. It's exhausting, right? And then we get all these cortisol spikes from stress, which also causes your brain not to work well. Um, it's really exhausting. It's really challenging. One of the best things you can do with anxious attachment, this would be my like step one for you, is
Yeah.
learn how to self-soothe, learn
Oh,
how to regulate your own emotions.
yeah.
Because with anxious attachment, a lot of times you've been taught to outsource your emotional, like getting to a stable place. So it's like instead of self-soothing, you've been
Mhm.
taught to go to other people to try to help you calm your emotions,
Yep.
but you have to take your power back and learn how to self-soothe.
I love that. That's a great idea. That's a good start for sure. So, when it comes to like sex and intimacy, how do these attachment styles play into that? And how do they influence like how we connect with our partners? That has to be a huge thing too, I would think.
You will find this fascinating. So let's dive, I think your listeners will too. Let's dive into this with anxious and avoidant attachment styles. They are so drawn to one another. It is
Ah,
like magnetic moth to a flame. The anxiously attached person, if they walk into a room and there's 100 secure people, but there's like one avoidant person, they are finding that avoidant person.
why
Okay.
is that? Where does that come from?
So it is that they both match their beliefs about love. They match up with each other's models for what a relationship is, right? If I'm avoidantly attached, I think, oh, people want too much from me. I'd rather be independent. Relationships are too much work. Oh my gosh, I'm going to disappoint someone or they're going to disappoint me. So the anxiously attached person, by constantly asking for reassurance and constantly moving towards them, they fit their model perfectly for what a relationship is. So
Yeah.
they match up. And now when these people have sex,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
it is so this is like when people describe like, oh, crazy, intense, emotional sex.
Yes.
A lot of times it's between either disorganized. It's between insecure styles, but a lot of times it's between anxious and avoidant. It's when those people have sex. And it's because they're both getting that dopamine hit all of the
Yes.
sudden that they're
Yeah.
not getting anywhere else in the relationship. So it's like this flood of dopamine and connection. And that's why people can say, oh my gosh, the sex feels addicting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that makes total sense because I've been with it because I feel I'm more of well, I used to be more of a anxious than avoidant, but like, yeah, just dating other ones like that. The last guy I dated was a totally anxious, and I flipped into my avoidant, I think.
Yeah.
So I was like,
That can
enough. And it
happen.
was annoying, and he was like, "Arr, arr, arr." And so I think what you're right, when you get together, it gives like him what he needs and me what I need. And then it's just like fireworks. And outside of
Yeah.
that, I'm like, okay, I don't need anything else. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. So it feels like the only normal spot is secure. Like, do we consider secure being normal? Is
That's an
that,
interesting word, normal, isn't it? Like when we hear that
yes,
word, I'm like, how do we, I think what we all want is we want to spend as much time as possible in secure attachment.
yes, yes.
And healthy people, you're never going to be securely attached 100% of the
Right,
time. You're still
right.
going to have moments, but the idea is that you can move back to secure really easily. You're able to realign with your secure self more
Yeah,
easily.
yeah.
So that's,
I
and ooh,
wonder.
you'll
Yeah,
love
yeah,
this. I just want to make sure I say this because you'll love it. Is that if you have an insecure style, but then you find yourself with a secure person, that
yeah.
can also help you move more towards secure.
Yeah. It's so inviting. It's so inviting to be with somebody who's secure, that makes you feel calm. Like when you're not normally, it is such a cool feeling because you're like, wow, they're not even like worked up about it. And you're right, it draws you towards them and it makes you think like, am I so worked up about this? Why can't I be calmer?
Mhm.
But I also think there's a little bit of the anxiousness gives you, like you said, the dopamine. Even when you are secure, everybody likes a little bit of that drama that I think comes with the anxiety. And I remember specifically in Sex and the City show, like Carrie Bradshaw would say that she started dating Aiden, and she was like, it's just weird. It's like too calm. It's too normal. There's no drama, and I don't know what to do. And she almost tried to create this chaos.
Yeah.
And I think that's because we then miss it a little bit, I guess.
It's interesting. Yeah. When you have a history of sort of unhealthy or insecure dynamics in your past,
Mhm.
then moving into a securely attached relationship can feel really jarring. And it can
Yeah.
feel like, oh, is this boring? Right? It's just what you're describing, what Carrie went through.
Yeah.
But
That's
the thing
exactly it.
is it's just your brain is getting used to having more consistent dopamine, more consistent connection and stability, and learning to associate that with relationships
Yeah.
instead of the intermittent reinforcement that happens in those unhealthy dynamics where it's unpredictable,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I always tell my clients secure is sexy. We are rewiring our brains,
Right.
right?
Stick with it and enjoy it instead of trying to find the
Yeah.
extra little hits of stuff, right?
Hmm.
So, okay, let's talk about dating a little bit as a whole. So, what are the most common mistakes that people make in the early stages of dating that you've seen, and how can you avoid them just from dealing as a relationship coach?
So both anxious, avoidant, and disorganized people, one of the things that they do is they invest way too quickly. So they emotionally invest way too quickly. No pacing. No pacing in a relationship. And we know that this gets us into trouble. We've all been there. The
Yeah.
third date and you're like planning your wedding, right? Like we've all been there. And
Yeah.
yet so many people still do it.
Right.
So I really would encourage anyone who's working on their dating life, learn how to slow down your emotional investment.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that happens where we tend to, even when you're on the dating sites, I've noticed flipping through there and I see somebody, automatically my mind goes, oh, I could see me like with them like on that boat or something, and you're just like, God, I don't even know this guy. Why would my
Yeah.
mind even think that? Is there something you can do in that moment to just go, like shake yourself out of it, or something else to think about, or do you just let it play out and hopefully move on from it?
I like to do something with my clients called reality testing, right? It has a
Okay.
fun name. It's like
Yeah.
let's come back to reality. But it's where you just slow down and you write down on a piece of paper, like, what is the actual data that I have about this person? Imagine you're the love scientist, you got the white lab coat on, and
Yeah.
we're looking at, okay, what do I actually know about this person.
which is nothing at the
Yeah,
moment. In
right.
reality, you
So,
probably know nothing. Yeah.
and that's the reality. I'm glad you actually mentioned this about dating apps and websites too, because our brains are filling in the blanks of what we want to be true. We're in all these fantasy relationships, right? Like the brain is filling in the blanks,
Yeah.
but you really owe it to yourself to not to start to build the relationship until you're off of the apps.
Oh, like give yourself that time to just be in the moment. And then when
Yeah.
you like, so when you're saying when you're off there, like you planned a date and you started dating a little bit this particular person, then you can start thinking a little bit more.
Yeah, like when you're on the dating apps, I think of it as like your opportunity creation time. It's just like,
Mm.
oh, like a I don't even know, like I'm trying to think of like those little games at the fair where like you have the claw that comes down and like is getting the animal or whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like the dating app. You're just like reaching in there, you're grabbing your little stuffed animal
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it comes out, but it's like you don't
Right.
actually know anything about this person until you are physically in the room or a phone call. I'll give you a
Yeah.
phone call maybe,
Yeah.
but like please don't start building a relationship until you're off of a screen.
Yeah.
Like, you
Because
know.
even then, it's still so new. Like, you don't, what do they say? You don't really know somebody till 6 months, 8 months. Even then, I
Yeah.
think it could be like a year,
We have
right?
to gather the data on people. We have to say, do they do what they say they're going to do?
Yeah.
How do I feel when I'm in their presence? Do I feel the way that I want to feel in my ideal relationship, right? We're like tuned into ourselves. So we have to really slow down and ask these questions and be that love scientist version of ourselves.
Yeah. Because if we went back to your story, I mean, 6 months in, this guy was still amazing, right? And so, like, if you had gone off of that, just that 6 months alone, it would be a completely different story than
Right.
what you ended up with. So, you got to remember that. Some of them are really good at it. This is the so
Yeah.
yeah. So on your Instagram, okay, one of your posts discusses the 5 behaviors in dating that you would no longer allow. So this really stood out to me. So you had mixed signals, breadcrumbing, popping up when convenient, lack
Yeah.
of effort, and no follow through. Can we kind of touch base on each of those and tell us why you're like no longer allowing those, or why nobody should really?
So yeah, when you become your securely attached self, it's also about stepping into your highest and best identity and really knowing your worth and knowing what it is that you want. And when we're securely attached, we just know that our energy is so precious. It's so valuable. And we want to think about our return on energy investment, right? If I'm
Okay.
investing my energy, then I need to know, just like you would in the stock market, like is this going to have a good return,
Yeah.
right? So I
Yeah. Do I
value
need to pull
myself.
out?
Yeah, exactly, right? I value
Yeah.
myself. I know what my standards are. I have high self-worth. And if someone's giving me mixed signals, then I'm going, oh, this is not a good investment of my energy. This is not a good place for me to invest my time and energy. And I also have abundance mindset. So I'm like, of course, I know there's so many people out there who would love to date me, who would love to build the kind of relationship I want to build.
Yeah.
So, you
Oh,
know,
that's a huge mentality right there to just switch up and be, because we tend to start feeling sorry for ourselves, like, right? Instead of just being
yeah.
like, God, I'm freaking amazing. There's so many people. Why am I worried about this one loser that doesn't want to give me the energy when there's so many people out there that do? I love that.
Yes, that
Yes.
abundance mindset, right? Of
Huge.
like, I know that if what I am looking for is also looking for me.
Mm,
Because I exist, because I know like the kind of relationship I want, there are
mm,
people out there that also want that kind of relationship. Because
yeah.
you and I know, like you know this, that people can have a relationship. Like it's easy to go have a relationship, right? And like we can be married to someone and like, okay, I have this relationship. But when you really heal and you're setting new standards for yourself, you
Yeah.
want that great, intentional, securely attached partnership that feels like best friends. That's a
Mhm.
whole different level. And when you have that clarity and you know that you're showing up that way as that person who can be the other half of that kind of relationship, then you're not going to let anybody come into your life who's going to take up the space that's actually meant for someone else, right?
I
Like you
love
have to say no earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Trust your gut, trust your instincts,
Yes.
your intuition too. So, what about breadcrumbing? Tell people what breadcrumbing are for those who don't know.
So with breadcrumbing, this is like the slow fade of their maybe early on it was more consistent and there was more effort, but then suddenly they're only texting you every 3 days instead of once a day,
Yeah.
or they're canceling their plans and maybe they're only reaching out um to say what's up, like they're just giving you just enough
Man.
to try to keep you in the relationship.
Oh my God, that's terrible. And then popping up when convenient. So
So,
it's when it's convenient for them, obviously.
yeah, this is that person that, and I don't know about you, I feel like so many of us women can relate to this, but it seems like these people have like a radar. They're
Mm,
like, oh, she's starting to feel good about
yeah.
herself.
Oh,
She's, doing really great. And then they just
and
pop
just
up,
swoop
right?
in. Yeah.
They have a radar. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I've missed you." I remember one guy when I was dating like 6 years ago or something, he was like, "I've missed you." This is after 3 months. He's like, "I've missed you so much, and I heard this country song today, and it made me think of you, and this is why, and here's the lyrics," right? And it's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, he must have
Yeah.
just gone through a breakup. It's convenient for him. He wants
Yeah.
to come back into my life."
Exactly. And you're right. It's always when we're feeling like we've moved on, we're doing something, and then you're like, how do they know that I'm doing so
They have a
good right
radar.
now? Yeah. So we need to not let that happen. Lack of effort.
I feel like so many people listening gets, I don't even have to talk about this one. I mean,
I,
this is like the guy on the dating app that's like, "Hey, we should go out." And you're like, "Yeah." And then they don't pick a place or a time or make any
yeah.
plans.
Yes. And sometimes even before that, on the dating sites, when they've made lack of effort to even do a solid profile or, to put up
Yeah.
like a good amount of pictures, because you got to look at that and go, I mean, they're not even willing to make an effort for something that is important or, hopefully important to them or something they want to focus on, but they're not even willing to put in the effort to like give a great profile. I'm like, swipe left real quick.
Yeah. And I think it really shows up when your first conflict happens too. Like when you're dating, because conflict's gonna happen. Is
Yeah.
someone gonna put in the effort to show up and have those hard conversations with you? I think that's really important data to gather on people, right? Or are they just like out, this is uncomfortable. I don't want to have tough conversations. I'm just gonna go get back on the dating apps, right? Like
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's a lot of people that show up that way with the lack of effort.
Yep. And then the last one is no follow through.
So yeah, this one I think is just such a pet peeve, right? Of like people not doing what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
If I say, "Hey, I really like you. I want to get to know you. I'm intentionally going to ask you out on dates and I'm so happy we're spending time together and this is really important to me. I'm really ready for a serious relationship," right? If I'm communicating that and then I ghost you and you don't hear from me, that is so unsexy.
So true. Not lining up. And do you think there's like maybe a boundary there? I'll give you an example. So I had read once on some like, I don't know, it's like a Facebook thing that somebody was complaining that the man they had started dating said that on their next date they would bring them flowers. And he didn't on the next date. And, she wrote in to be like, so what does everybody think about this, that he didn't bring the flowers? And I was shocked though at how many people were like, block them, delete them, don't talk to them again. I don't know. I was like, oh, really? Like to me, that seems so trivial. Like, okay, you kind of go, ooh, maybe it was a joke. Like, oh, girl, I'm bringing you flowers next time. And then he doesn't. And then you're going to block them. So, what is the boundary, I guess, on that before you're kind of like, okay, there's no follow through on this? I would think something way more serious, like you said.
So, yes, it would be something more serious. And I think this is actually a great point that you brought up. I think in our culture, we're in this like cancel culture society.
Yes.
We're really quick to just write people off. And I want everybody to know that that's actually really unhealthy for you and for your relationships. If someone is doing something in your dating life that you don't like or that didn't meet your standards, you
Mhm.
owe it to yourself and you owe it to the other person to communicate it openly, honestly, directly. Like, let the person know when you did this, I felt this. This is why it's not okay for me. This is what I would appreciate in the future. Like you have to communicate directly. Like let's stop just like writing people off and blocking them. It's terrible.
Yeah. Because honestly, it lets them off the hook too. And I love what you said about like addressing that. That is so, I probably, years ago would be like, no way am I going to do that. But as you grow and you feel more secure in yourself and how you can communicate and you know your boundaries and what you're looking for, I think it's so much easier and cooler because I think it's great to call somebody out on that and be like, dude, listen, you said you were going to bring flowers. What happened? Instead of just, like you said, deleting or canceling. And I think that comes from the dating apps because we know there's somebody else right around the corner. So you don't even have to follow through.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I just have this feeling of like what is going to happen to our society in 50 years if we're if we're just
Yes.
not able to give people feedback and then we just cut people off. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not how real relationships work.
Yeah. Exactly. So, how can someone identify if their partner's attachment style is incompatible with their own? Like, maybe you don't recognize it up front, or they come to you saying, quite often they do, no, I've been working on myself. I've been done this and that. I'm very secure. And so you enter into this relationship and you quickly find out that they're not. So, how can you kind of bridge that gap if you find out, ooh, they're way more anxious than I thought? What do you do? Cancel?
Well,
Like,
no, this was a great, what we just talked about is a great segue into this, right?
yeah,
Because I think it's really important to realize that people can change their attachment style.
huge.
And we do get to give people feedback about how we are experiencing them. So if I'm dating someone who's really anxiously attached, I'm going to let them know and say, "Wow, you know, I've noticed that this has happened and that has happened and from my experience, I'm experiencing you as someone who's very anxiously attached. Does that line up for you? Do you feel safe and secure in our relationship?" Like I'm going to ask them, right?
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
Because I want them to be curious about it. And then if they want to work on it, great. Sometimes
Mhm.
people want to work on stuff and it can change. Other times they get defensive, they don't want to work on things, or
Yeah.
they say they're going to work on things, but then they don't have the capacity to. So
Mhm.
it just takes like open, honest feedback and then notice, are they able to change?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. So, if you could just kind of talk to the listeners about the three hard-hitting relationship truths that everyone needs to hear. So, I have this on your stuff, which is choose yourself first, practice vulnerability, and practice reality testing. Can you kind of touch base on each of those for the listeners?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I remember writing this post
Yeah.
recently and these are definitely things I would have wanted to know early on.
Yeah.
Um, choose yourself first. Gosh, this is so cliche, but it really is at the core of you have to have a really great relationship with yourself.
Mhm.
And if you're not emotionally available with yourself, you won't be able to be emotionally available with other people.
Yeah. So true.
And it starts with like, do you know what you're feeling? Do you know what you want? Do you know what you need? Are you in touch with yourself? Right?
Mhm. And a lot of times it's writing those things down too, like write your wants, your needs, your values, and see how those line up. I think daily or depending on the situation you're in too.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think also, I also meant that when I wrote that of like, if you're in an abusive relationship or a toxic relationship and it's damaging your mental health, but you have this thought of like, oh, but that person needs me.
Yeah.
No, you always have to choose yourself first. You
Right.
always do.
Right.
Um, and then practice vulnerability. This is a practice. And you know what's funny? We always think about being vulnerable as like sharing the tough stuff or the trauma that happened to us. But for a lot of people, what's actually even harder is sharing how much we care, sharing how much we love someone,
Yeah.
right? Like it's a
Yeah.
practice to be able to say, I miss you, I need you, I want you in my life. Like
Yeah.
we have to practice it and we have to practice getting comfortable opening up our hearts. It's a practice.
Because it can be awkward too, especially if you don't say it very much. It probably feels very weird to be like, yeah, I miss you too. Like you don't, and you're kind of going, whoa, what does that feel like? So that's kind of probably neat to get in touch with that in yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And then the final thing about reality testing. So with I think we talked about this a little bit, but it's just you have to
Oh
stay in
yeah.
reality. You have to
Yeah.
gather the data. What's really going on in the relationship? If a third party person came in and
Yeah.
they looked at this is what happened on date number 1 and this is what's happened so far and like how would someone objectively look at the data of your relationship? You have to practice that when you're dating.
Just, yeah, be real about what's going on too. I think it's super important to try to not just gloss over things and, red flags that stand out. It's harder than it is to say it. Like we can sit here and say, yeah, watch your red flags and trust your gut and do all these things. It's really hard to do it at some points because you want to believe the best in people and maybe you've been waiting forever for a relationship and you don't
Mm.
want to lose it. And you're always going, well, I could just change them if they just give me time, I can make it different. Oh, I feel like I've been through all of this
Yes, yes.
at some point.
That
So
should
this
be
is
one of the points too, is you can't change people.
Yeah, I know. And we all think we can. I've done the same thing. And I'm like, I just know if he just gives me a chance, oh no. And you just can't, especially the older you get, the more set in your ways you are, and the harder it is. So this is kind of reiterating what we've already said, but just about the attachment styles to kind of sum it up. We are saying you can change your attachment style over time. And if so, what steps can someone take to cultivate a more secure approach to both love and intimacy? Just like for a takeaway for the audience, what are a couple things that they could implement today in their life to just start doing that?
I love that. I think one of the best things you can do is get in touch with your securely attached identity. So ask yourself, who is the securely attached Andrea, right? Like how does she think? What behaviors does she have? What are her non-negotiables in relationships? Let's develop that securely attached identity.
Yeah.
And then when you're faced with relationship decisions or you're dating, you just want to get in the habit of asking yourself, what would securely attached Andrea do?
Oh, I like that. That's a great idea. So I say that stuff about, I'd be like, well, what would Jesus do? Or what would my brother do? Like kind of I'll
Yeah.
say like all kinds of things. So why not say, what would Andrea do in this situation? Andrea in this great space over here. What would she?
Yes.
Oh, I love that. That's a really great idea. Yeah, and I think people can just start doing that a little bit each day and building and working on
Mhm.
yourself and recognizing, I think is huge too, acknowledging that you're maybe not as secure as you thought you were and finding
Yes.
why, you know, boundaries.
Absolutely. And then just realizing that, I mean, every time you show up differently, you're starting to
Yeah.
rewire your brain and you're starting to heal your relationship. So it happens slowly over time, but then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I'm a different person. And it just
Yeah.
comes from those small decisions again and again of how do I show up differently?
I love that. So it's been such a pleasure having you. This is such great information. I love talking about attachment styles and dating and all of that stuff. So you have an incredible book out. Tell everybody about your book, where they can find it, and then where they can find you on social media for your courses and the quiz, of course, too.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been really, really fun. I
Great.
loved it. I have my book, yes, it's called Love Magnet, Get Off the Dating Roller Coaster and Attract the
Great
Love You
name.
Deserve. Yep, it's on Amazon.
Okay.
This book is great because it's not just information, it's experiential. So there
Mm.
are exercises you are going to do work as you go
Oh, I
through
love
the
that.
book. Yeah.
Okay.
So people really love it.
Yeah.
Um, and then my podcast, Let's Get Vulnerable, 2 episodes a week, so much attachment theory wisdom on there. And then my Instagram, Dr. Morgan Coaching, Dr. Morgan Coaching on Instagram.
Oh, perfect. So everybody will go check you out, and I'll put that in the show notes as well. So before you go, I'd like to do a little from Mrs. to Ms. Would you rather game in your area of expertise, just 10 easy questions, whatever one you like better.
Love it.
All right, number one, would you rather date someone who is great at communicating their feelings but struggles with commitment, or someone who is deeply committed but avoids emotional conversations?
You know, it's funny. I would pick the second one.
Okay. So they're deeply committed, but they avoid emotional. I'm surprised, I think.
I
I
think
thought
it's
you would go for the
the more
communication.
sec- the more secure that I have become, I can
Uh-huh.
feel commitment. So if someone's really truly committed, but they're not great at expressing it, as long as they're committed, I would be okay with that. The past
Yeah.
version of me would have picked the other one.
Oh, see, I love that growth. That's amazing. All right, number two, would you rather have a partner who's a fantastic kisser but terrible at flirting, or someone who's an expert flirt but just okay at kissing?
Oh, fantastic kisser all the way.
Gotta be right. I cannot
It's so
handle
important. Yes.
guffy
My fiance is
kissing.
like the best. Well, he's probably gonna love I said that. He is seriously the best kisser ever. I love it.
It's so cool when that happens and you connect in that way. Like you legitimately, like, it just fits, and you're like, ooh, it gives you those little tingles that
Yeah.
you didn't know you had. I love it.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. So would you rather go on a date with someone who only talks in emojis, or someone who insists on bringing their mom to every date?
Oh my gosh, emojis, absolutely.
What
My
emoji
goodness.
would you be if you could be any emoji? What would you be?
If I could be an emoji, probably the eyes with the stars,
Oh,
the
yeah.
starry-eyed.
Ah, that's good. That's a good one. All right, number four. Would you rather fall for someone who makes you laugh uncontrollably, or someone who gives you butterflies every time they walk in the room?
Laughing, absolutely.
That kind of supersedes a lot. Number five, blindfolded surprises or playful role play?
Hmm. I would say the surprises. Yes.
Surprises. Okay. Number six, would you rather have the ability to read your partner's mind during sex, or be able to control their sensations with just a touch?
Oh my goodness. Wow. This is wild. Honestly, I'm gonna go with the sensations. Yeah,
Yeah,
being able to
I think
control.
I'm right.
Yeah.
We don't want to know what they're thinking, right?
No.
Okay, number seven, trying new positions or mastering the classics.
That is a good question. Honestly, at this point in my life, I'm gonna say mastering the classics. I'm mid-30s. If you would
It's like,
ask me
I'm
in my
done.
20s, but
Yeah,
it's
I think
yeah.
20s is for that crazy wild stuff, and 30s, you start coming out of it. By 40s, you're like, no,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
no. And you have to always raise the bar too when you start bringing in new stuff. Number eight, would you rather work through your attachment insecurities before entering a relationship, or learn and grow while navigating the relationship with the right partner?
Honestly, before. I've seen it both ways. I've done it both ways.
Yeah.
Before makes it so much better.
Yeah. Because you go in with a certain mindset instead of stumbling.
Yeah, it just helps you. It helps you. It helps your partner.
Mhm.
You have that the foundation of a relationship so important. So you're so much likely more likely to have a good foundation when you're coming in secure.
Yeah. I love that. Number nine, would you rather have a partner who constantly checks in on you throughout the day, or one who prefers to give space but shows deep affection in person?
It's funny. So in my past, I would have picked the first one, but
Mhm.
definitely the second one. I really value my space.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm getting there too. And I think what do you think is like a good time frame? Like, if you just start dating and you've gone out a couple times and they're doing, a lot of people who go on that whole good morning text, that's kind of starting to be like a negative thing.
Right.
And so how many times is too many, like, if somebody's just reaching out in the day and they're like, hey, hope you're having a great day, or, hey, hope you're feeling better today. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that's great. It's the ones I think that want to continue texting all day, every day, really early on. You should watch out for. Do you agree?
It's fascinating. We all need different levels of communication when
Mhm.
we're building reassurance and we're trying to create that securely attached foundation.
Yeah.
Everyone is so unique. So this is really a case by case. And I just
Yeah.
tell people you have to communicate about your communication. You have to let
Oh,
people know what do you need, what feels like enough, what's too much. But I would say like all day, every day is too much.
yeah. But I would say probably like you, I used to want that, like that fed me though, right? Because if you are anxious, that does feed that mode of like, okay, he's still thinking of me, he still likes me, you
Yes.
know? Yeah, all really jacked up is what it is. And the last question, slow dancing in the living room or spontaneous dance moves in the kitchen? What's your
Ooh, I would say it's the spontaneous dance moves in the kitchen. We're always in the kitchen together.
yeah.
He's my incredible chef. I just get
Oh,
to like be his little assistant. So
wow.
we spend a lot of time in the kitchen. Yeah.
Oh my God, you got a chef and a great kisser. Come on.
I got lucky.
You got lucky. How long you guys been together?
3.5 years.
Congrats. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's been like what you'd hoped for, like a really good, secure, solid relationship and
Yeah,
allowed you to
better.
grow.
Better
That,
than I could have ever imagined. I mean, incredible. We just have a really, really healthy relationship and we have a lot of
yeah.
fun. We have a lot of fun
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting married this year, so very exciting.
Oh my God. That's so
Yeah.
exciting. Yay. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank
Did you ever
you.
see yourself getting to that from where you were?
I
I mean,
didn't think it would be possible for me for a
yeah.
really long time. I
Yeah.
didn't think it would be possible. So yeah, now entering this and the way that we went about it, where it wasn't rushed, it wasn't pressured, it was just like, 3 years in and it feels right and it feels good and we're doing it our way and it's really exciting.
I love it. Well, that's
Yeah.
incredible. Incredible.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for joining me today. I loved having you. You have so much great information. Your website is awesome, and people can go in there. I really had a good time in there. I kind of got lost for a little bit going through
I
some
love
stuff, and
it.
I'm like, I better do the quiz so I know what I'm up against today. So you guys go check it out. Her website's great. Instagram and everything. And you can do the attachment theory quiz. If you do not know what your attachment style is, go find out. Go check it out. It will help guide you so much better in your relationships. So thank you, Dr. Morgan, for joining me. Loved having you. And for all you listeners out there, you can find me on any major streaming platform at From Mrs. to Ms. You can email me at info@FromMrs.Ms.net. It is great catching up with you guys, and we'll see you again next week. Have a good one. Bye.